Thank you very much. It was enlightening. Very often we forget that the family can be a paradise, but can also become a sort of hell. Hegel, in his Encyclopedia of Philosophical Sciences, explains that the subject in the beginning is encompassed within society, and he means the family with society. And he needs to break with this kind of social uterus in order to affirm himself or herself as an individual subject. And this is the great discovery of Socrates and also of Jesus Christ. They both oppose themselves to the dominating environment in order to reconcile himself later with the family, but as a free individual. And Freud shows us the same dynamism. The child has to enter into the teenager period in which there is the conflict with the family, and has later to reconstitute his relation to the family as a grown-up. In this sense, what you have been saying seems a tremendous empirical confirmation of the scheme presented already by Hegel. And we have experienced this also in Italy. It's not a kind of an experience that is limited to India. In Italy, this has had a particular relationship to organized crime and to corruption, because the loyalty is not given to the general community, to humanity, to the state, to society. It's given to the family. Not by chance, in the United States, they call mafia Cosa Nostra, our thing. It is the family. And also the phenomenon of corruption is linked to a loyalty that is felt toward a certain group. If you are the judge in a public competition and your cousin is present as one of the competitors, you feel that you have to give your preference to your cousin. Also, he may not correspond to the criteria of common good that are requested by the law or by the particular stipulations of that contract. Do you see something similar in India too?
Thank you for that parallel. It's very, very instructive. Thank you.
He wonders whether you see something similar in India, like, for instance, here in Italy, the mafia, or that kind of relationship, loyalty to the family instead of to the society at large.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about organized crime and organized crime in India, but yes, I mean nepotism is considered a peculiarly Indian quality, so that. Like he said, the appointment of people who may or may not be qualified for a job, for instance, you may move heaven and earth to get that person appointed simply because he is your cousin, like you said. So yes, I mean I think there are strong commonalities. I'm just not sure about the. So on corruption and nepotism, yes, certain types of family feelings do translate into buttressing these practices. I'm not sure about crime because I don't know enough about yeah.
Any other question? Yes, Helen.
Thank you very much. It's very, very interesting. It's more a reflection, really. I'm not sure whether your paper isn't trying to give an answer to this issue, but I think putting together some of the things which Bob Putnam was saying and that you have been saying, I think one of the things that emerges is in the US case that women, not in the same situation in the United States as in India, obviously, but they won't put up with certain things anymore that they used to put up with. But what they were doing was valuable in terms of caring and building relationships. And in a way, what's happened is that that's got lost to some extent. Instead of it being somehow shared or something. And so I wonder, we've got these two examples in a way, a situation in India where we have still women subjected to this situation, and yet they are doing something valuable, as you say. Of course, you're also making connection with the common good, and that's another issue. But if we just think about creating the sense of caring and the kind of family virtues, obviously we would like things to be different, but we don't want to lose this in the process of changing the situation somehow. So I'm not sure if you can answer it as a sort of question, I think, for us, but I think your two papers are raising this quite important question in terms of dealing with the family as a relational good. So thank you for this.
Thank you. I should add, though, that even if just as a footnote, that, there is really no such thing as the Indian family. The experience of the family is hugely differentiated by class, but also by region, and experiences of, caste and religious identity as well. And for instance, tribal identity as well, very strongly, because they're the family is completely different. So I when I use the term the Indian family, I'm using it to encompass a hugely differentiated phenomenon. But that was all a footnote.
Vittorio?
Thank you, Niraja. I have one question. You have focused mainly on the Hindu Indian family. One of the peculiarities of the legal system of your country is that even if the Indian constitution mandates that there should be a common civil code, you do not have a common civil code. The family law for Hindus is quite different than the family law for Muslims, because Muslims are allowed to have several wives, up to 4 wives. Even if in the constitution they say we should have a common civil law. How do you see the differences between the Muslim Indian family and the Hindu Indian family, even if both are, as you just said, general constructs with a lot of differentiations? And particularly, how do you see the issue that is often mentioned by Hindu nationalists, whom I dislike as much as you do, but they often use the argument, yeah, a terrible thing in India is that a woman marries a Hindu, but when he converts to Islam, I think it's very rarely the case, and then he has the right to marry another wife, and this is an injustice towards his first wife, whom he married as a Hindu with the understanding that she would be his only wife, and that this shows that Islam doesn't fit into India. What do you make with this legal problem?
Right. So the Constitution does not actually mandate a uniform civil code. It is there in a chapter called the Directive Principles of State Policy, where it is expressed as an aspiration for the future, as are many other good things. But so the Uniform Civil Code is an aspiration, and the difficulty with it has been, so the Hindu law was reformed in the 1950s, not entirely, but quite substantially. However, the guarantee to the minorities was that they would be allowed to practice their own personal laws to all minorities. The issue has been contentious, Vittorio, because it can, what form would uniformity take? The concern, so many feminists obviously would support the idea of a uniform civil code, so long as that uniform civil code does not become a proxy for a Hindu civil code, right? So that the legitimate interests of people belonging to other communities are not trampled upon. So it should not become a majoritarian uniform civil code, but a civil code that feminists of all religious and other communities could accept. That has been, so there have been drafts of that kind drawn up over the years, but we haven't made much progress there. As far as the question of conversion is concerned, yes, there are Hindu men who have sometimes converted to Islam, and some very sort of prominent film stars and so on, just in order not to practice the religion, but only in order to be able to marry again without actually divorcing their first wife. So that is a terrible practice. But what we are facing currently is actually the opposite problem, which is that laws are being enacted by states governed by the Hindu nationalists, which are punishing conversion of any kind from any religion, especially from Hinduism to any other religion, on the grounds that these religious conversions are taking place. They call them love jihad, which means that a Muslim man is seducing a Hindu woman and who will bear him lots of Muslim children, and so the population of India will become more Muslim than Hindu. Absurd arguments of that kind. So the issue of conversion and the issue of interfaith marriage have kind of got the lines have become blurred lately, because it's not just about conversion. By the way, Christians are now there's a metaphor used for Christians in common parlance, which is for people called rice bag converts. The argument, the insinuation and the allegation being that people have been given a bag of rice as an inducement for conversion. This is also completely ridiculous and untrue, but this is the kind of narrative that is being spun, under this sort of way of being. So yes, I mean, conversion is a problem, especially when it is conversion of a Hindu woman to Islam for marrying a Muslim man, because that represents a form of love jihad. But that's really where the Hindu nationalist position is.
Well, thank you. I guess that there will be more questions in the general time for discussion. But now we are having coffee. I am sorry that you cannot have coffee with us, Nayara, but...
It's dinner time for me, Anamartha.
Okay, good.
It's dinner time. Thank you. Thank you very much.